It started with shadows on the sun. At first, they looked like solar flares, black spots dancing across the corona. Scientists scrambled, confused by readings that didn't make sense. The anomalies weren't solar activity. They were something else, something wrong, something ... approaching ... within hours. Those shadows became objects. Objects became ships. Ships became death. The invasion wasn't subtle. It was a hammer strike against the beating heart of humanity. No demands. No transmissions. No mercy. The sky ruptured as colossal alien vessels breached into low orbit, their hulls black as obsidian and shaped like twisting nightmares, spires, limbs, and writhing biomechanical tendrils. First contact was the last mistake we ever made. They targeted everything: satellites, space stations, communications grids, gone in minutes, the internet, silent, GPS, dead, military satellites, shattered. And then the cities. Massive kinetic rods, the size of skyscrapers, fell from the sky at terminal velocity. Cities weren't bombed, they were cratered. London, vaporized in 3.2 seconds. New York, reduced to glass and ash. Tokyo, collapsed beneath molten steel and broken earth. Cairo, Johannesburg, Sao Paulo, one by one. Each turned into firestorms, mushroom. Clouds bloomed not from nukes, but from sheer kinetic force. Shockwaves circled the globe. Tsunamis swallowed coastal cities. Skies turned black. The atmosphere filled with dust and debris. The day our cities burned was the day we learned what we are. Governments fell in hours. Command chains broke. No one knew who was in charge. The military was scattered, isolated, blind. Fighter jets launched, only to be shredded mid-air by drones swarms the size of buildings. Entire armies vanished beneath. Gravity lances, weapons that crushed matter into itself until cities imploded. Tanks melted, carriers sank. Nuclear submarines were picked from the oceans like toys, but humans didn't die quietly. In the wreckage of fallen cities, survivors crawled out of twisted steel and shattered glass, covered in blood, dust, and fire. People who had never fired a weapon picked up rifles from the dead. Mothers grabbed knives. Fathers wielded hammers. Children loaded magazines. The enemy thought breaking the cities would break the people. They didn't understand humanity at all. What the aliens saw as victory was just the beginning of the fight. In the smoldering ruins of Paris, firefighters, construction workers, and ex-soldiers formed the first resistance, ambushing drone patrols with stolen explosives. In Mumbai, metro tunnels became fortresses. Civilians wired subway systems with IEDs, turning them into death traps. In the shattered skeleton of Los Angeles, street gangs and SWAT survivors fought side by side, rigging skyscrapers to collapse on top of enemy walkers. They burned our cities. Not our spirit. The invaders' logic was flawless. Break the infrastructure and the species collapses. Their calculations showed 99.8% probability of human extinction within 72 hours. They didn't account for something they couldn't measure. Something no algorithm could predict. Defiance, when the skies turned black. When the fires reached the clouds, when everything we built crumbled, something ancient woke inside humanity, a memory older than language, a truth written into bone and blood. We are the species that survives the impossible. We survived ice ages with sticks and fire. We survived plagues with hope and grit. We survived wars with fists and teeth. The moment we remembered who we are in the ruins of Istanbul, an old man, a historian, scratched words into a broken wall. They burn. We endure. And that became the whisper passed through every resistance channel, every hidden bunker, every survivor's lips. They burn. We endure. It happened in the ashes of Berlin. A squad of mechanics, engineers, and students hacked. A downed enemy drone reversed its targeting and sent it rampaging through the invaders' ranks. A single victory, small, insignificant in the scale of the galaxy, but to humanity, it was a spark, a reminder, a declaration, a beginning. We are not done. We are not broken. We are not dead. The enemy believed the first strike was the end. But it was only the beginning. When the dust settled, when the screaming skies turned black with ash and the world stood on the edge of annihilation, that's when humanity became something else, something terrifying. They wanted to know what we are. Now they will. Across the ruined earth, what was left of humanity refused to vanish. Where others would fall, humans evolve, not in generations but in hours. In the rubble of Moscow, survivors built EMP coil guns from the wreckage of microwave towers and downed satellites. In the submerged ruins of Jakarta, divers rigged torpedoes from crashed aircraft and homemade propulsion to destroy the alien sea harvesters. In Mexico City's broken metro tunnels, gang members and police, once enemies, forged a militia using 3D printers, scavenged from universities to mass-produce ceramic weaponry invisible to the aliens' magnetic sensors. Every human was now a weapon. What no war simulation predicted was the madness of human stubbornness. The will to fight, not because victory was possible, but because surrender was unacceptable. Why fight if there's no chance of winning? Because if we die, you bleed. If you crush our cities, we'll fight in the rubble. If you melt our weapons, we'll fight with rocks. If you kill us, we'll crawl with broken bones to bite your ankles. For the first time in their long, ruthless existence, the invaders began to experience something new: hesitation, drone. Patrols that once marched confidently now moved cautiously. Ambush became frequent. Supply nodes started going dark. In the Arctic, solar-powered signal jammers blinded their orbital surveillance. In Australia's red deserts, biker gangs turned Mad Max-style vehicles into anti-drone strike teams. In Kenya, ancient railway tunnels became sniper nests, eliminating swarm commanders one by one. The Earth was no longer a planet. It was a battlefield. And the battlefield belonged to humanity. The rise of the revenants, then came the revenants, deep underground, in secret labs hidden beneath mountains and beneath the ocean floor. Broken scientists and engineers did something insane. They reverse-engineered. The enemy grafted alien biocircuitry into human exosuits, harvested swarm energy cores to power Terran railguns, merged swarm neural tissue with Terran eye. They created weapons that were part machine, part monster, and all human rage. The first Revenant warsuits were terrifying, living armor that pulsed, grew, and adapted, worn by soldiers whose eyes were filled not with fear, but fury. If you wanted monsters, you should have looked in the mirror. The first counter-offensive Operation Phoenix began in the ruins of Shanghai, a Revenant strike force. Just 12 soldiers launched a raid against the enemy's primary orbital uplink. A suicide mission by every calculation, and yet they didn't die. They breached the walls of flesh and steel. They tore through biomechanical defenders. They planted fusion warheads into the spire's core. The sky turned white. The uplink shattered. Suddenly, for the first time since the invasion began, the enemy fleet was blind. Swarm formations collapsed. Air superiority faltered. Drone coordination broke. All across the world, human resistance surged forward. Guerrilla fighters who had once hidden became hunters. In Brazil, rainforests turned into guerrilla strongholds, full of traps, MP mines, and hidden artillery. In London's ruins, resistance hacked enemy ships to crash them into one another. In the deserts of Nevada, captured enemy walkers were refitted, repainted, and deployed against their former masters. What had been isolated sparks of resistance became a global inferno the moment the invaders. New fear surveillance records from the enemy's own black boxes showed the impossible. A drone commander, a creature designed without emotion, issued its final recorded command before destruction: retreat. The word echoed in the swarm's neural relay. A word no invader had ever spoken in 1,000 conquests: retreat. Because the day our cities burned wasn't the day we died. It was the day we remembered what we are, the dawn of human vengeance. As the skies cleared over broken continents, humanity stood, battered but standing, no longer the prey, no longer the victim. A new kind of war had begun, a war of extinction, a war of fire, a war humanity intended to win. The day we rose from the ashes was the day the universe learned the truth about humanity. We are not survivors. We are the reckoning. The invaders tried to leave. They tried to flee from a species that should have been erased. But it was too late. From the deserts of Mars to the floating shipyards of Jupiter's moons, humanity rebuilt, not cities but weapons. The Revenant program expanded. What started as a dozen suits became an army of biomechanical nightmares armored in the bones of dead enemy ships, powered by stolen swarm cores, guided by the minds of soldiers whose only language now was war. Humanity forged ships not for travel, but for pursuit. Starkillers, dreadnoughts with quantum railguns capable of ripping planets in half. Void Striders, stealth frigates that phased between realities to strike unseen. The Crucible, a ship the size of a small moon whose only purpose was to collapse stars into singularities, annihilating entire enemy sectors. You burned our cities. Now we burn your stars. No corner of the universe was safe. On the edges of the Veil Nebula, swarm refugee fleets were hunted down, their bioships torn apart molecule by molecule. On the rogue planet of Garaz, the last enemy breeding grounds were vaporized beneath a cascade of gravitational implosions. In the shattered remnants of the Ebon cluster, the enemy's high command, entities older than some galaxies, were executed aboard their own flagship, their neural matrices shattered, their code wiped from existence. Humanity didn't conquer. Humanity didn't negotiate. Humanity exterminated. As the last of the swarm's progenitor cores burned, humanity broadcast one final message into the void. A message carried by radio waves, quantum bursts, gravitic pulses, in every language ever spoken on Earth, and 100 more invented since. A message for anyone watching, anyone listening. We are humanity. We fell, we bled, but we never surrendered. If you ever come for us again, remember what happens next. In the center of what used to be the enemy homeworld, humanity left a monument. A colossal obsidian spike orbiting the ruins of a shattered star. Engraved on its surface, visible to any who dared approach, were the simple words, "The day our cities burned was the day we learned what we are. Do not test it again." Legacy of fire years passed. Decades, the scars of the war faded, but the memory did not. Humanity spread, not as conquerors, but as something worse to those who once thought themselves superior. A warning, every colony, every world. Every station bore the same crest, never again. And when alien children on distant worlds asked their elders about the black scars in the sky where entire systems once were, the answer was always whispered with fear, "Those are the humans." The day their cities burned was the day the universe learned what they are. What we are the species that does not break. We are the fire that does not die. We are the storm that hunts the stars. We are humanity. Forever unbroken.